Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Systems Boutique Podcast. And who do we have? We have Coach Geo back in the boutique styling
Yes.
you this week. Coach Geo, welcome back. I think
Thank you.
we're all old friends now. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
everybody knows you as our book coach, the book doula. And so we are excited to talk all things book again today. And so if the people have not heard from you before, which where have you been if you haven't?
Yes.
But if they haven't, then tell us just a little bit about yourself and then we're going to jump into making your book work for you today.
Cool. Yeah, no. So I'm the founder of First Book Done. It's a signature program for thought leaders, speakers, consultants, and coaches who are looking to go and position their businesses, build their brand authority and credibility. And we teach them how to actually do that from end to end. So from concept idea to actually the book in your hand and making it an impact out in the world. We literally teach you A to Z exactly how to go ahead and do that. I've written 7 books myself and helped self-publish over 100 books with the students and other people that I've worked for in regards to their own books. So you're in good hands here, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. I'm really excited about this one.
Yes, and I ironically just got off the phone with someone who you helped write their book that I
Yes.
read, and that is not the phone, but the Zoom podcast, whatever you want to call it. I got off with Coach Carlos, who
Oh
has
man.
written
Yeah.
No More Dancing, and
Yes.
it is
Yes.
phenomenal.
Yes.
And he talked about how he had just bare bones of the information, but you came in, you helped with the statistics, you helped formulate the idea, you helped him add more of himself in there, and how you truly were this doula helping him to birth that thing and to get it done. Yeah, so we're excited. I told him that in a couple of weeks we need to have both of you on the podcast to talk about the process. Yeah, let's do that. So, a lot of people think of a book as just this product, right? I'm just writing this book. I just want to get it done. And so it's like, I'm thinking first book done and that's it. But you say it's not really just that the first book is done. You say it can be an employee. And so, what do you mean by that? And then, how can authors really just shift their mindset to see their book as part of their business operations?
Yeah, I love that question. I think honestly, when I say employee, a lot of the people that are writing books, they're typically not a part of some big team, right? So you're typically like, hey, I work a 9 to 5 and I'm now trying to go and use my book to then pivot into this consulting role or this coaching business or to be a speaker full time. And so when I say an employee, there's multiple angles I want you to look at it from this perspective. When you're thinking about hiring somebody, you're thinking about, okay, I got to give them a salary, I got to give them benefits, all this stuff like that. Number one thing I love to say about books is I don't gotta give them no benefits. No benefits required. Books don't need dental and they don't need health care. You good off the rip. So I love that part of it. But when I say an employee, you got to think about it from the perspective of you have to be able to sell your services. Your book is an opportunity to show what you do, not just tell. A lot of people say, hey, man, here, I'm telling you what I do for a living, or I'm telling you how I can add value. But where the decision is made by your prospects is in the ability to see what it is that you do. And the book allows people to be able to see. So it's already a salesperson for you, it's a commercial for you. It's also a lead generator. So when you think about, man, I'm not that good at marketing. Now, I'm not saying you don't need to be good at marketing at all. What I'm saying is you don't have to be as good if you have a book because a book already has a perceived value in it. So now with the talking sales is already okay. I'm positioning marketing in the sense of, oh, I can generate leads. Think about going to like a chamber of commerce event and everybody else is passing around books, business cards, and you have books. And technically you might need an assistant to come with you and say, hey, come with me to the event and just introduce people to what we do in the company or give them business cards. You not do that. You go with like 10 books and it's valuable. People come out in a business event, they got like 100 business cards in their pocket. You go and say you got 10 books. You give away all 10, Dr. Ramona. The 11th person is like, can I get one of them? When have
Yeah.
you heard somebody's like thirst for your business card? But a book, oh my gosh. They're like, "Yep, I heard so and so had a book you gave away. Like, can I get one? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm all out, but let me get your information. I'll be more than happy to ship you one." Now they're like, snap, like I'm gonna get something in the mail. There's a level of excitement. And when you think of marketing, I want you to think about like Apple Store. Everything is intentional. The way they got trees in the store and the lighting and everybody wearing a certain thing, that's all communicating your value. That's all, and that's what marketing is, and that's the thing that your book can do. And don't even mention that I just told you networking and public relations and PR and media. I promise you, you will never turn on the TV and within the hours of 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. not see an author on one of the top news channels that you watch, no matter where you live. And so, a book and being an author allows you to be able to attract all of those opportunities and more.
Wow. So, I mean, I've never even thought about the fact that you can give out books instead of business cards. And I think that's brilliant because you're right. Being an author, if you just say you're an author, it just has this level of prestige that people think, because people understand the process, right? They understand that it took time, it took effort, it took some things to actually birth that, as you always say. And so if you did that, you didn't just walk off the street and just throw something together and say, oh, I'm just gonna create some random stuff. Normally, you put a lot of time in it. And so I think that that is such a good way to think about generating leads, and not just generating any type of lead, but quality leads. Because when somebody's going to read that book, they're going to be someone who actually is purposeful, right? They're intentional when they are going to spend their time and sit there and read something that you've written. And so, as you're thinking about this idea of lead generation after your launch and long after the launch, this book is still going to be working. And so, it's got to be set up correctly. So we got to think about that as far as the systems for setting this up. And then what are those systems that we need to start to generate those leads, the incomes, and those opportunities automatically? And maybe it's not automatically, but how do we set up a system where we really are generating the leads and getting what we want out of this book?
Yeah, I think when you hear systems in some of the marketing world, you hear the word funnel, right? Like that, and it's just a process of events that take place that leads them to a natural outcome at the end, right? Hopefully, a sale or whatever. So when you're thinking about the things that you're already doing, and this is why when I love this, the idea of a book is because you can plug it into what's already being done. It's not always like, oh my gosh, I gotta stop it doing everything in order to get that done. So from a speaker's perspective, there's a pre-event funnel that you could create, right? So what am I doing before I even secure a speaking opportunity? I'm shipping out the book. The book has some information. Maybe you go and put a little postcard in it that has a QR code that you can go and have a welcome message that says, "Hey, Dr. Ramona, thank you so much. I'm so glad you have a copy of my book. I specifically want you to go to chapter number 5, page 77, because that's where you will find something that will be of value to you." Blah, blah, blah. That's like the before. I want you to think about like your systems with your book as like you're in the courting phase of a relationship. If you're looking at it from that perspective, there's the before, during, and the after. So you want to think about what's the funnel that I can create to generate interest before. So that's giving away a free book, whether it's a free plus shipping type of funnel that you can create where, hey, just for the price of shipping and handling, you can get a copy of my book, right? So that's a system I would create because it'll collect leads, give you some good data. You get their address. They spent money. So now you, like you said earlier, quality leads. So it's not just, oh, I gave this away for free. They paid the 5.99, the 7.99, the 9.99, right? And then also, once they have done that transaction, the card is already on file. You then follow it up with complimentary offers to take that experience and level it up. So now you get the book. Hey, would you like the audiobook? Oh my gosh, yes, I do. Like I'll be driving and stuff. I'm stuck in traffic. Yeah, get the audiobook for just $20 more. they get it for $20 more. But now again, and we'll be talking about this a little bit later in our interview, but like you could repurpose it and give the person the same information packaged differently. So they're like, yo, man, when I read the book, I'm by myself. It'd be dope if I had Dr. Ramona with me. You go and say, hey, would you like a one-on-one session to go and best know how to use the book? That's $97. Now this person started off with an $8 free per shipping offer. They went and got the audio book because they're driving, so they had $28. Then you go and tell them, I'm gonna talk to you for an hour for $100. It's normally $1,000. You get it 90% off. We're already at like $100 some now, right? And then you still got other offers that you could attach to it. Like, yo, like, don't read the book, come meet me. And we could talk about the book in person. And now that's another level, right? So when we think about it from that perspective and see it like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know. I call a book the original Transformer
Okay.
because I just told you how many things it turned into. It was a book, but now it's like, oh snap, it's this, it's that. But I think the funnel is the biggest thing. You got to think about, where do I plug in this book? Where is authority, brand building, and credibility lacking in my business? And plug the book into that dark hole to then be able to go ahead and increase the desired outcome that you want in your business.
That's so good that we plug in the hole where something is lacking. And so, do you have an example that you can think of where something might be lacking and then the book would help to boost the credibility in that particular area?
Something is lacking and the book would, and even like even like, to boost the credibility. I think in terms of plugging spots, I think one of the things that I see with a lot of people is, if you're a speaker, there's the I generate income by exchanging time for money. I gotta go somewhere, speak, and do whatever. The power of the book is, a book could actually be a booked engagement by itself without you actually having to do an additional engagement. So I go and speak for $5,000. There's 500 people in the audience. I get them to buy $10 a copy book. Everyone in the audience gets one. That's an extra $5,000 without me spending more time, which means I can be home more. Like you celebrating your daughter's birthday today, right? So it's like I could go to where I'm going because of the fact that this additional engagement, the book secured it. The book is the speaker. It got the speaking fee, right? So it plugs in a hole in terms of revenue generation. Like you now have another way to generate revenue. When it comes to the credibility piece, the way it plugs in the hole, and this is something that just came to me, and I think we don't talk about it enough. When someone is referring your business, they often are not equipped to speak the value of your services at the level that you would want. You would want to be in the room. They might say, Dr. Ramona is amazing. She will get you set up. Like if you're feeling like your business is all over the place, she's going to she knows how to structure you in a way where everything leads into each other and creates a nice system. You might want to say it slightly differently, but they said it. And now the person that they're talking to who has to make the decision is like, I still don't see it. Your book now, if they came and they went, and now they don't even have to say anything, Dr. Ramona. Like they could go and say, hey, I think we should work with Dr. Ramona. She would really help our business. Here's her book, and shut up. No more talking necessary. Right now they get the book and they're like, what? Oh my gosh. Like they see the testimonials of your past clients. They're reading case studies of you actually showing, not just telling them what you do, but showing them the before and the after. Like, hey, this person was spending 60 hours in their business. After working with Systems Boutique, they were able to cut their time and work 30 hours. And they seeing the play by play. That's plugging a hole that the person's like, a lot of times people say no to our businesses, not because they don't need our service. They don't understand what they were supposed to do with the service or how to actually use. And that's where a book can definitely plug in a hole when you talk about creating credibility, is enhancing the show and the show and tell aspect of what it is that you do.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that because I think that we often are not thinking about these extra sources of income, this extra sources of credibility, all of these other things that a book can provide. And I've thought about, when you were talking, this idea of sometimes it takes, people say, 7 to 10 touches for people to even really recognize you, to hear your words. And having that book gives them the opportunity to get to know you, to actually get to know the service that you do from your words. And it helps you to not have to go out. There's no way that you can speak to thousands and thousands of people and tell them your story, tell them what you do. But having this book, again, as an employee that you have trained because you trained it from your own brain to go out and tell people what you do and how they can work with you is so valuable. I love that.
No one, and one thing, there's a person we both, Dr. Myron Golden, right? Like, and he's talked about the person who gets the business, the one who knows the most about the customer, and that spends the most time with the customer. When you create a book, the book is with the person the whole time, right? So it's all so you're talking about how much time you're spending, and they might listen to you, like they read your book, right? So maybe that took up a couple of days or something like that. Then they listen to your book, that might be a 3 to 5 hour audio. That amount of time, there's no way someone can compete with you when you have that much time with the person. And so we don't have that. Like most of the time, you give a business card, you got 30 seconds. Hey, I'm about to get off of this elevator. Tell me why I gotta know you. Like it's always a rush. But a book is like it's at their leisure. When they're available, when they got time, they got a little downtime, they could go and read the book itself. And it really does get to the point you said about like 7 to 8 touches. Who spends the most time with the customer? And then you have an opportunity to talk about them in the book as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later with the trading part.
Hmm. So, as we think about these authors and they're stopping, right? They're stopping at just selling the books. But books do a whole lot more than that, as you've already explained. And so, what are some of the best ways that we can repurpose this book content into other income streams? And so, you talked a little bit about like if we were out speaking, then we could sell books and make money that way. But what are other things like courses, coaching, other things that we can do with books at speaking engagements?
Yeah, so courses is definitely a big one. Courses is a big one. And I consider it like they say the best way to chop a tree is to make sure you sharpen the axe, right? And the sharper the axe, the less work you have to, and effort that you have to create to cut the tree down. Well, by writing the book, the course itself is already written. It's just in a different medium. And what I love about book writing is it allows you to filter and understand what should have made the course. So when you think about what's my course curriculum, what's my syllabus for the course, it's probably very close, if you do it correctly, as the outline of the book. It's the same journey, but just a different, it might have a video or audio component, downloadable things, interactive pieces that normally the book may not have, right? So you could easily repurpose the content. And then now we have AI. So now with AI, you can literally tell AI, put something in your book and say, hey, I'm looking to create some guided or reflective questions that people can go and answer to really be able to have a personal relationship with the content that was in the book. You can incorporate that in a course by doing that, right? So even like, it's funny that you just mentioned that question because I created the course first. And now I'm about to go the other way and create the book. But it's reversible. Like if you have the book first, you just take the book outline and turn it into your course outline. But if I have the course first, I now just have my chapters already written. Instead of calling them, they were called modules. I just changed the word module to chapter, but it's already done, right? And it's just little tweaks here and there, maybe a little bit more storytelling than what I would have said in a video. So course creation is definitely a way. And the beauty of it is that your book may sell for anywhere between 20 to 35, $40, but a course could be anywhere between 97 to $3,000. Then when we talked about coaching, the coaching is the personal element. It's cool to read the workout that Jennifer Lopez did or the workout of this celebrity, but it's different when the celebrity trainer is in the room with you. Coaching is the author is there with you along on the journey of you consuming the content. So now you're repositioning you're not aligning another medium to the content already. Same content. The only difference is the power of a coaching program, and this is how you can go and use it, is that when someone's reading something and they have a question, they can't ask a question to the book. But in a coaching program, I could go, Dr. Ramona, I understand A, B, but I got stuck at C. Can you help me? Now, coaching allows me to see where they fell off and to address the problem right then and there instead of you being frustrated with not knowing how to get there. And that's how you can sell coaching and the book. And that's why they complement each other, because the book gets them to a certain point where they go, oh, snap, I now have a new problem. Now I'm aware I have the problem. Now the coach, now they're, because they're aware, they're what they call in the marketing spectrum, they're problem aware. So now they're problem aware. They're like, okay, I now know I got a problem. I need the solution. Coaching. Like it's a natural sell. Like, so for those who like hate selling, you don't have to sell that much because your book drove them to the pothole. And then they're like, yeah, we got to fill this pothole. All right, well, get me as a coach. So it's a natural thing there. The other side of it too is like when it comes to speaking engagements, obviously generating leads is super helpful from that perspective. It's also something that you can now partner with organizations to be, as they're giving away goodie bags. Your book is now something that can be sold in bulk to give away prizes, giveaways. And then in speaking engagements, here's how I would use it. If your book is 12 chapters, you can literally go and take a chapter and teach it in person as a workshop. Or if you, the way I teach thought leaders is break your book into units. So there's 3 parts to your book. That might be 3 different workshops. So instead of going and getting a $5,000 engagement, you sell the whole series for $15K. You sell the whole series for $30K, $50K, depending on the bigger the company, the bigger the problems, the bigger you could position what you do to get a bigger payoff. But all of these things all are coming from like that one thing. Yeah, one of my favorite African American people is George Washington Carver. I hope my wife listens to this podcast because she still didn't get me my chain. So I told her, if you ever get me a chain, it needs to be of a peanut. And she was like, why the heck would you want a peanut around your neck? And I said, because George Washington Carver was able to create the amount of patents he has because of the peanut and how he was able to repurpose it to so many other things. I want the peanut to remind me that this one little thing could be so much more. And I look at a book in that same vein, that its ability to come and do all of these other things is what makes it super powerful.
Oh, wow. That is such a great illustration and a way to think about it. And we're in Georgia, so Georgia peanuts, we get the reference here. So, oh gosh, you said so many different things in that little time that you were talking. But one of the things, okay, the peanut is obviously a really great thing. And so thinking about, and that's why I love talking to that we work with speakers and coaches and consultants and authors, because all of it, one person is normally all of those things. They're a speaker, a coach, a consultant, an author, and that makes up the system for how they do work. And so somebody was talking to me one day and they're like, are you going to stop doing any one of those things? And I said, no. And that person said, you understand the system. Right. And so I think that that's so important, that we're not just a speaker or just a coach or but we think about how we can bring about these sources of income that lead to these huge sources of impact. Because that little bit of time that we are on the stage does not equate to all of the time somebody could be reading our book, all of the time they could be experiencing our curriculum, all of the times that we could be coaching them. So all of that, it just leads to this huge amount of impact. And it's not really about the more we do, but all of those things coming together really bring about this system of change that individuals need, right? And so we can't do that in one setting. And another thing that you reminded me about is Russell Brunson often talks about the fact that when we solve a problem, we create a problem. So let's just say that you're selling weight loss. Well, the person has got this supplement and they start drinking it and they're good, but then now they don't know what to eat. So now you need to have a little recipe thing to give them, or they don't know how to now exercise or do things that they need to do to make sure that their family is in on this process. And so you're always creating problems while you're solving problems. And so our brain should be thinking about, how do I continue to solve the next thing? And I think that's what George Washington Carver did, is that he thought about, okay, here's a peanut, but here's another thing I can do with it. And here's another thing. And here's another
Correct.
thing. And
Yeah.
it just kept growing. And so, yeah, okay, now I might tell George that I want a peanut necklace too.
If you get one
That's
before me,
good.
you let me know.
It's going to be a problem. Yeah.
That's good.
So now, when we think about this idea of employees, we all
Mhm.
know that we have to train an employee. Okay. So when we think about this idea of training a book to do its job, what are some things that you have people do during this writing process that it ensures that the book can do the job? Because if we just go out there writing, the book is not going to do what it's supposed to do. They don't know the book doesn't know what it's supposed to do as far as the work that we've done, how to tell our story. So, what are some things that you do to train this book employee?
I love this question. I love this question. So, number one, we make sure that we identify what are the questions that the person would stumble upon. So, we train the book to be create connection with the reader by saying the questions that the reader would naturally have. So when you said earlier, hey, we need to solve problems, you need to know what problems this information produces. So as I give you the answer, that answer now gives you another problem. If I say the problem in the book, our connection is like fiber optics. It's a different level, right? And so I'm always telling, and when it comes to training, I need my salesperson to know what questions these people are going to have. And so when we're writing, we're saying this in the book. We're writing the actual questions that the person would have to create connection. We're also using the book to demystify some of the things that they thought was true. Because as people are learning, there's a level of unlearning that is required for them to see the opportunity, right? So Russell Brunson talks about an opportunity switch. Oftentimes they don't see the opportunity. You ever had a client and you're like, hey, this is for you. And they're like, no, it's not. I don't see it. And you're like, yeah, like I'm giving you water and you're on fire and you're telling me no. Like, I don't understand this. The reality is they don't see the opportunity. And oftentimes that could be limiting beliefs. So now I want my employee, AKA book, to be aware of the limited beliefs that they have and debunk them, get them to get rid of it so that the thing that I ultimately want them to do and the thing that they ultimately need has a clear path to it. So, what are the questions that the people would have? What are the things that they already believe that may not be true? Because we want to go ahead and challenge them, right? So, if you're gonna, and here's why we want to challenge them: no one hires a coach to stay the same. No one hires a coach to stay the same. I already could do that without you. I hired you to change me or to elevate me, to take me to the next level. And if you are only confirming but not confronting or challenging me to question what it is that I'm doing, then I won't necessarily see why I need to have you as a coach. So we see that throughout the book completely. And one of the key things that I'll give this, because you're listening to the System Boutique podcast. If you wasn't listening to this, you wasn't gonna hear this. You want to get people to be in the moment with the problem and tell them exactly what that experience is going to be like in the book itself. Seeding somebody, tell them, here's what I mean by that. You want to put the word my client so and so and then tell the story. By saying that, I'm now making the reader understand I have clients. A lot of times people don't buy from you because they didn't even know you were selling. I didn't even know the store was open. Yeah, the whole time I thought the sign said closed. But when I say my client, and I always tell people when you're writing your book, put the client you would like in the book itself. Put them in the book. Put them in the book. Former CEO said this when he came across my brother. Now another CEO reading it is like, oh, so CEOs and Geo work together. So why shouldn't I? Right. So you want to start to plant the seed. Like The beauty of Dr. Ramon, I said this on social media like a few weeks ago. I said storytellers are going to be the future fortune tellers. If you can tell the right story, you get to write the future. That's the beauty of what we can do as authors. Like, I can write your tomorrow. You read it today, and then you're like, well, the person who wrote my tomorrow, I probably should connect with them today so that I can see that tomorrow. It naturally gets them to say yes, but you have to know the questions they have, the thoughts they already have, so that they know that you understand them, you see eye to eye, and then the thoughts that they need to have. And that's all the stuff that the book should have when we talk about training the employee and equipping the employee to be able to do the work for you.
Yeah, and I can, as I think back to books that I've read and I felt that connection with them, I felt that way. I felt like you knew what I was going to ask. And I was asking this question, and then all of a sudden the question came up and they were giving me the answer to it. And I can totally see that in the way that good writers have been writing their books. And I think that's so brilliant to just lay that out. And I see the system, right? There's a system behind how you write. You don't just go out and write a book without a coach and think, I'm just going to put down my thoughts, because there's a methodical way that you lay out your story, your thoughts. And in the quote that you said in episode 3 was about the fact that I'm not reading a book to read about you. I'm reading the book to meet the better version of myself, right? And so I think those questions that you're saying, or that system of putting in things that need to change their mindset, putting in things that answer their questions, helps to get to that better version of themselves and takes you out of it and lets them see themselves in the pages of that book.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. So there's employees that are not doing their job. So for authors who feel like their book isn't working for them right now, maybe it's just sitting on the shelf. What's the first step that they can take today to turn it into a real asset that drives their business growth?
I'm going to say what they should do today, but before I say that, I need them to also understand that sometimes you have the wrong employee. They
Okay.
got fire on. So there's a lot of people who wrote the wrong book,
Oh,
which is yeah, yeah. I had to say it. I didn't want to be the one,
that
but I
hurt,
had to say
Coach
it. Like,
Geo.
sometimes I'm sorry, people. I can't tell you how many clients I've had who literally they were coming for my neck because they were like, Gio, the nerve of you to tell me I'm writing the wrong book. And one client comes to mind right now, who just signed he self-published his book with my help. And now he just signed recently a traditional publishing deal with a major publisher in his space. And I remember the book he wanted to write was on mentoring, and I told him to write a book about financial literacy, and that changed his whole career, like, completely. He quit his job. He's coaching. He's getting partnership deals and stuff like that because he had the right employee. Had that employee been a mentoring book, I can't tell you he would be in the same place he's at right now. So I just have to say that part because a lot of times we try to make something that's broken work, and it's like, well, just get something else that's not broken. So that's one thing. But let's just say you did write the right book.
You gotta let the people grieve over the wrong book for
All
a
right,
second. Now
let it land. Let it land.
get a moment of silence for the wrong book. Okay, that's it.
All right.
But for real, I think that we're laughing about it, but that is a hard thing to digest. Now, I haven't written a book yet, so I'm not feeling that on that level, but I can feel that there's so many times that we've done something that was not quite the right thing. And then to come to the realization that it wasn't the right one for us, it's okay. Acknowledge it, and then move into the next one, right? So I do want to be sensitive to the listener who has that experience or who really felt that, because it's not funny. It is that would be
That
something
would
that
hurt.
would be
That would
really
hurt.
hurtful. And so yeah. So
No,
now,
no, got it. All right, so let's jump into the ones who have the right book.
okay.
So for those, the first thing I would do today is there's a couple of questions I would ask because it would help to determine whether I should do one thing or another. So the quickest thing that you could do today is probably change your book cover. A lot of people got an ugly door, but inside the house is really pretty.
Okay.
So you could literally get your book to look brand new by getting a new cover. So I had a client who I remember he said, Geo, man, I said, how's your book doing? He said, man, I ain't moving too much. And I said, let me see it. And I looked at the cover, I said, yeah, that ain't gonna do it, bro. And I said, let's just go and change it to this. And what's so interesting is it made him want to sell it more. A lot of us, when we say our books is on the shelf, it's because you like, oh, I don't like you like that. It's like the outfit or the shoes. You like, man, you ain't wear them shoes in a long time. I don't really like it no more. Like that's why I don't. It doesn't come out. So the quickest way to do that is let me just change my book cover. Let's just give it a facelift. Change the door. Sometimes is just repainting the shelves. It makes you feel something different about it. So I would say the book cover would be probably the quickest thing, the first thing I would think of. Always gives it allows you an opportunity to reintroduce it into the market because it doesn't look exactly the same. Now, if you're doing that, oftentimes you want to make some kind of change in the book. Maybe it's adding a chapter or adding something like I would ask the question of what's different about me now and the information that I didn't know when I was writing the book, and maybe put that, but just a little bit so that the book has a reason for the new cover, right? So you could say the revised version and have a new cover to sell that. The other thing is you may have the right book, but the wrong title. So the cover and the title. So it's like changing the name. That's called, I look at the title as the name. So you might be a beautiful person, but on paper, if your name is Erica and it's AIR, Reka, instead of instead of ERICA or KA, we might need to change the title, right? So oh man, I didn't mean to make us laugh, but I can't tell you how many times people's titles really be like you don't want this person getting a job. The way you spell Erica, this person not getting a job. That's not happening. So the book is the same thing. The title might be so, and here's what that looks like. Your book title might be so curious driven, right? So my first book is an example of that. My first book was called The Thirst is Real. But the purpose of the book was to teach you how to turn your passions into something real, like a job or a career tangible. The Thirst is Real doesn't make that obvious without that subtitle, and it made the book harder to sell.
Okay.
By changing the title immediately to just how to turn your passions into a career, everyone knows off rip what the book value is. The Thirst is Real does not communicate that immediately. Now, to the point of where we said, hey, what do you do first? Before I even changed the title, Dr. Ramona, I went from the original book cover, The Thirst is Real, was a picture of a shadowy hand reaching out for a glass of water, right? So it was cute. Oh my gosh, you're in a desert and you're thirsty for water. And I used water as a metaphor for dreams. And so they were chasing after the dream in the middle of a desert, blah, blah, blah. The thirst is real. Before I changed the title, I said, listen, that thing is too artsy. No one understands it. It doesn't position me as a credible person because you don't even see me on the cover. You just see some artwork. So first thing I did, I went and said, what's the most highest quality photo on my phone? And I took that photo and said, we switching the cover to my photo. No title change, no subtitle change, nothing changed in the book other than me sitting on a pair of on the steps in my friend's house, and he had a legitimate camera. And I said, that's the picture. And that immediately elevated the book. The minute someone saw that, they said, oh, that's the author of the book. That like, he's black. Oh, so it like gave all these different things that little artwork wasn't going to be able to do. So I changed the cover. Then I just looked at it and said, "Oh shucks, man, we probably got to change like the subtitle a little bit just to make it like help the title do something because the title's actually hurting us." So the two things I would really focus on before you even change the book because it's overwhelming to think about changing the whole book. Is the cover and the title. Like that would be probably my first step, and it would probably position you to be more excited to sell the book itself.
That's good. And so as people are thinking about that, is it just that there's low sales? What gets you to the point where you're like, I need to change the title or the cover? What
Yeah, I think
point?
I think after you've exhausted all your marketing options, I think a lot of people, they think, like, a lot of times we think the product is bad, and it's like, no, you just didn't get it. It doesn't have enough visibility. So it's not the product, it's the fact that not enough people have seen it. So after you've exhausted all your options when it comes to marketing, so if you've never had like a marketing campaign created for your book, or have hired someone to help you with marketing, whether it's someone like myself or someone like a Coach Rocky who did an amazing job on a previous podcast talking about, just messaging and understanding how to convey what it is that you do. If you've never done that, then you can't say the sales are lacking, the marketing is. And so after you've exhausted all the marketing options and you are like, okay, this is still not selling, then at that point, I'm like, okay, well, then there's something about the product. It's not the Facebook ads works. Google ads works. Giving your book instead of a business card works. All of those things work. So if it's not working for you, then it's the thing, not the process. And a lot of us throw away the process and say the process doesn't work. The product is fine because you know how much time we spent on creating the book. It can't be the book. It's like it can't be my child. It's the school. The school sucks, right?
Right.
So it's like no, but it might be, if you want to be really honest with yourself and have a real moment, it might be the product, but you don't know that unless you've done this due diligence to make sure you've done everything that you could to get it out there, and then see get that data, and then decide, okay, this needs a facelift or not. But you don't want to do that and just keep correcting yourself, because a lot of people have books on their computer that they've been trying to figure out how to fix, but they've never let it out. And so there's a lot of unfinished books on a lot of computers all over the world because people are still trying to figure out how to fix it. And I'm like, the worst way to fix it is to let it out, get that data, and let the data dictate what the fix should actually be.
That's good. Goodness. Well, Coach Geo, this has been amazing, talking about how your book can be your employee. We have talked about training this book. We have talked about all the work that it can do and going out there and telling your story. We have talked about how we might need to change it, all of the things. And I'm so excited for everyone to see this episode of the Systems Boutique podcast. Anything that we left out, anything that you think people need to know about this employee?
The sooner you hire the employee, the quicker it can work for you.
Yeah,
That's
that's
probably the
good.
best thing I could say is like, you're probably late, so the next best time is now.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Well, everybody, this was another episode of the Systems Boutique podcast with Coach Geo, our book doula in the Systems Boutique. And we will see you on the next episode of the Systems Boutique. Bye. All right, my chic CEOs, that's a wrap for today's episode. If you found value in today's conversation, do me a favor. Subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with another star. That's a speaker, a teacher, an author, or a coach who absolutely needs it. And hey, if you're ready to finally get your systems together, let's chat. Head over to thesystemsboutique.com/strategy to book your systems style strategy call, where we'll map out your perfect business back end. So until next time, keep it chic, keep it systemized, and keep shining like the absolute star you are. See ya.